Welcome everyone to our webinar today. This is the second in the Using Kerrii series, Creating Formulas. So I'd like to welcome you to my clinic. That's where I'm recording our webinar today from. My name is Bernadette Ann. I'm the VP of Marketing and Support here at Kerrii.com, and it's my job to make sure that you understand how Kerrii can make your life better. We have two different ways that you can get a hold of us. There's our support at Kerrii.com if you have questions on how to use Kerrii or its features. And then we have info at Kerrii.com if you have questions about what features it contains or our pricing plans. And of course, there's our website. Before we get started, I wanted to review really quickly the reason why you would create a formula versus a bulk formula. There's actually three things you can create in Kerrii. You can create a bulk formula, or a maceration. And there's a little bit of confusion about when to use a formula or a bulk formula. So that's why I'm going to clarify that today. So first of all, if you're going to create a formula, you need to meet three different criteria. So it needs to be something that you're going to sell to a client. So it's not like a raw material you're going to use to create something else. It's a product you're going to sell to a client. Secondly, you're going to package everything that you create at the moment that you create it. So you're taking 75 grams of tea is what you're making, and you're going to package all of that tea when you make it. And then the third thing is your volume of ingredients that go into the product equals the volume of the packaged product when you're done. So for example, if you have 25 grams of 3 different herbs, when you're done, you have a 75-gram bag of tea. So in comparison with a bulk formula, you need to meet one of these two criteria. So you either have a situation where your volume of ingredients doesn't equal the volume of the packaged product. So for example, if you have a salve and you've kind of tried to scrape it all out, but you have some left in the pot, or if you have a cream, you've got some left in the blender, or you've gone ahead and you've packaged everything up, they're all in these nice little jars, but you just have this little tiny bit that is just, you can't put in its own packaging. So, and then that is just going to be waste. So that's the first instance. The other instance where you would create a bulk formula is if you don't want to package everything all at once. So example, you have an online store, you don't know what people are going to order. So instead of making it up and packaging it right away, you make up a nice big batch. And then as the orders come in, you go ahead and then create and put together, package the sizes that your customers are asking for. So formula, you need to meet all three of the criteria. Bulk formula, one of the two. So let's get started. So our formula creation process actually has 5 steps. So at first look, it looks a little bit complicated, but it actually is really simple once you go through it. So first, what you need to do is add your ingredients. Then you need to package your product. You need to adjust the pricing, add it to the store shelf, and then finally you produce it. So let's take a little look at this process. So here we have Kerrii. This is, we're going to take a look at the drafts list. So the drafts area, the drafts list, this is where we do all of your work. This is your workspace. Anything that you create in here and is saved here doesn't affect your inventory amounts. So it allows you to kind of experiment with things, take things in, take it out without worrying about messing your inventory. And it stays that way until you actually produce any of these things that are in the list. This is also where you're going to go to create your formula. So you're going to go new, and then you're going to select formula. And this gives us the formula pane. Now with the formula pane, you'll see we have some nice little red dots, and those tell us what are our mandatory fields that we actually have to enter something into. So we're going to start with our name. It's really important to think about how you want to be able to search or filter your products in inventory later on. So I really recommend that you include the category of the product in the name of it. So instead of just writing calming, you want to write calming tea. If it's a calming tincture, you would write calming tincture, because then later on, if you want to search and see, well, what are all the tinctures I have, you're able to do that. So really important to keep that in mind. And then in the description, it's the same thing. So if you want to be able to search for something later on, you need to make sure that it's included in the description. So I'm actually going to put the ingredients of this tea into the description box, because what I want to be able to do later on is come back and say, geez, what are all the teas I have that have chamomile in them? So by putting this information in the description box, it allows me to do that searching and filtering later on. The other thing you can see that we need to enter in a mandatory is the date that this was made. By default, it puts in today's date, but if you need to change it, that at this point, that's when you would do that. For today, we're going to leave it as it is. We also have our first name and last name fields. Now, in today's case, we're not actually going to be creating this product for a client. So we're just going to leave those two fields blank, because this is a product that we're going to make for our retail or online store. The next thing we want to look at is our batch quantity. So your batch quantity is how many batches of this particular recipe you're going to make. And the great thing about Kerrii is that I can say, oh, geez, I only want to make a quarter batch of this recipe, or I want to make half a batch, or I want to quadruple the batch. So it's really nice that you have that flexibility. So today, I am actually going to make, I just need to check my notes. I'm going to make 4 batches of this tea today. So I've got 4 batches, and now I can start adding my ingredients. So let's start with my chamomile, and I got 25 grams of that. And I'm going to add another ingredient, and that's our rose petals. And then, oh, I'm short of rose petals, so I'm quickly going to click my adjust inventory button, because I know I have rose petals in there. Just my inventory was a little off, but I know I've got it. So I'm going to put 65 and hit save. Is that enough? No, I need 100. So let's just go ahead. There we go. So we can see I've adjusted the inventory because I knew I had enough, and now it's been corrected. And let's go ahead and add another ingredient. We're going to add our lavender. There we go. So now we've got all of our ingredients for our calming tea. It's at this point I recommend that you go ahead and save your work. When you do that, you can see it's going to go ahead and add the calming tea to the drafts list over here. And then at the same time, what I suggest that you do is that you print out this formula. And there's about 3 reasons why. So first of all, you want to do that because then you can take this into your workshop and you can go ahead and put together your product without worrying about getting your electronic devices all covered in ingredients. So that's one reason. The second reason is it also allows you to easily make some changes. So if you go ahead and you go through the process and packaging and do everything all at once, and then you get into your workshop and actually go to make it, and then you realize, oh geez, you know, as we saw here today, I thought I had more chamomile and I don't. So what you want to do is at that point, if you just have that piece of paper printed out, then you can go ahead and write on it and make your adjustments just on the piece of paper. And then when you're done producing your product, you can come back and then update the information that you have on that draft in Kerrii. And then the last reason is because as much as we do everything possible to make sure that our technology works, sometimes it fails us. So Our concern is not about you losing your data because we back everything up. So we'd have to have a worldwide catastrophe for us to lose your data. However, there is a possibility that the system could go down. So either your computer crashes, and so suddenly you don't have access to your computer, you have like a power outage, something like that happens, or Kerrii has to go down for maintenance and you're not able to get in for a couple of hours. You have that hard copy printed off, so you can always refer to it. So we really recommend that you do print off your formulas as you are making them. Okay, so let's assume we've gone ahead, we've gone to our workshop, we've gone ahead, we've put together all the ingredients, we've packaged all up so we know what containers we used, and we know how many we ended up in the end when we were done making our product. So we're all ready to go on the next stage, which is packaging. So with packaging, the way that Kerrii works is you package based on the container. So what you do is you're going to create packaging units around each type of container. So I'm going to show you how we do that. So you're going to click on the packaging button. And when you do that, it takes you here. And it shows you, here we go. This is our costing and packaging dialog box. And you see the first thing it asks for you is labor information. So we've already made the product. So we know how long it took us to make it. So it was only 0.15 of an hour. And then on top of that, we also know, we can see we have to put in our rate. This information has already been entered in for us because it was done through the information that we have sitting in our company profile. You can change this. So if you have somebody who happens to have a rate that's more expensive making it that day, you can update this information manually. We're going to leave it for now, just for the sake of time. So now we're going to go ahead and add our first packaging unit. So what we've done with Kerrii is we've gone ahead today and we made our tea, and what we ended up with are 3 75-gram bags of tea, as well as 3 25-gram bags of tea, because we made some little sample sizes. So those are the packaging that we ended up with when we packaged everything up for our tea that we made. So now we need to enter those into Kerrii. So what we're going to do is each time we hit this build packaging button, we're going to choose a different type of container. So our first container we're going to do is we're going to do the 75-gram bags. So remember I said we had created 3 75-gram bags. So here in the quantity field, you're going to enter 3. You can see up here where it says it already has calming tea entered in for us because it's already taken that information from when we entered it at the beginning, as well as the description. It's already there ready to go. Now we're going to pick our container. So even though I am putting only 75 grams in each one of these bags, I don't have a small bag. The only thing I have available to me is a half-pound coffee bag. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to click add to the list. Now, right away, Kerrii's freaking out. And the reason is because when I go ahead and I entered in those coffee bags as a packaging item into inventory, I also told Kerrii what the maximum volume is that that bag will hold. So by default, Kerrii assumes I'm going to fill that whole bag. So it's going, hey, you've gone ahead and you've chosen a bag that takes this much, but you don't have that much product. So you need to adjust the volume. So we're going to only put 75 grams. So I can enter 75 grams. Now Kerrii's happy. We can see we do that. It tells us how much here that we've packaged currently and how much is the total volume that we have to package. So we can see we haven't packaged everything. We still have 75 grams that need to be packaged, but we're going to put that in a different container. So this particular container, this half-pound coffee bag, is only going to have 75 grams. Good to go. Now I have other things I need to add for packaging, right? I have a label on this. So I'm going to go into where it says lid and label. And that's where I'm going to grab my front label. And even though it says lid and label, it's just any kind of packaging that's not a container is where you'll find in that drop-down list. And although you can only add one type of container to each time you open up the package builder, you can have multiple things that you pull from the lid and label drop-down list. Okay, so now I've got my coffee bag, my label, that is, and I'm going to have, this is all ready to go now. That's one packaging unit. So I'm going to click add to packaging. Okay, so when you do that, you can see it brings us back. It tells us that, yes, we now have this bag of calming tea. It's a size 75 grams. It adds that on the back for us so we know what the size is. It calculates a price for us, and it also tells us, hey, we haven't packaged everything yet. This is how much we have in total. That's how much we package. We have to fix that because remember, with formulas, you package everything when you make it. So I'm going to go back into the package builder to add my 25-gram bags. So I'm going to click build package. And this time I also have 3 of these bags that I'm going to use. Once again, I don't have anything smaller. So even though I'm only putting 25 grams in those bags, I'm still using the half-pound coffee bags. So I'm going to click and select that and click add to list. And once again, it reminds us, hey, there's too much here. And you know, you're right. I only want to put in 25 grams in these bags. We can see my unpackaged volume when we came in with 75 grams. That was what I had left. Now I've packaged those 75 grams. Good to go. Need to remember to add our label. And that's our second packaging unit done. So I'm going to add that to packaging. So now I have 2 different types of packaging for this product. I have it in a 75-gram bag and a 25-gram bag. We can see both of them are now listed here. And we can see it says package volume equals the formula volume. So I'm good to go. I have nothing else left to package. I can now move on to pricing. So Kerrii automatically creates a price for you based on what your formula cost was. That's your material costs plus your labor. And then it adds the packaging cost. Then it adds a 7% of the overhead, because that's what I have in this little box. This 7% and this 200% here came from my company profile, but you can change them manually here if you want. And on top it adds then the 200% retail markup. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to change my markup to 150 and see how it affects the pricing. So I'm going to enter in 150 and then hit enter. And we can see it's adjusted the pricing of everything in this list. And I'm going, I kind of really want to charge 200%. So I'm going to put this back to 200. I've done that. Now it's time for me to go ahead and look at these. And I'm going, you know what, for my market, these prices, even though I know this is going to give me what I want to make, they're not quite right. And my customers aren't really going to be happy with them. I can take a look. So I've got, let's take a look. I'm going to click on calming tea. And then if I click the price breakdown button, it will tell me how much I'm making on that product. So it's at 200%. So it's making I believe that's $8.63. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm guessing. It's going ahead and I'm making that much for each one of these 75-gram bags of tea. And I'm going, you know what? I'm making a lot of money there. I can actually probably take this down a little bit more and make the price more comfortable for my clients. So I'm going to get rid of this price breakdown box just by clicking on the price breakdown button again. And I'm going to go ahead and set the price for that calming tea. So I'm going to go click set price. And then a little box opens up, and in here, I'm going to enter in, I'm going to charge $11.99 for this because I think that will be more palatable for my clients. And then click OK. Now, if I go back to that price breakdown button, we can see I'm not quite making 200%. I'm making 198% markup. I'm making $7.95. And you know what? I am perfectly happy with that. I think that's a win-win for everybody. So I'm just going to click price breakdown to get rid of this. And I'm going to do the same here with my calming tea 25-gram bags, because I'm thinking, you know what? I'm making so much on these. I'm going to, make a little less on these because they're just sample bags. So I'm going to click set price. I'm going to make these at $3.50. Click OK. And there we go. Okay, so I'm all good. I've got these all set up. And I'm happy with my pricing, super happy. I'm making $2.07 on the 25-gram bag, so that's perfect. So now at this point, the next thing we need to do is we need to add, our pricing's all set, we're happy with it. I need to go ahead and add these items to the store shelf. So what is the store shelf? Let's take a look. So I'm just going to forward my slide. So the store shelf, this is the public face of your product. So anything that is in the store shelf, that's what your customers or clients are going to see on their invoice. It's separate from what you see in the inventory list. So what's listed in the inventory list is different from what the clients will see on their invoice. And to be able to sell a product to a client or a customer, you have to add it to the store shelf. However, to produce that inventory product, you do not have to add it to the store shelf. So when would you do that? When would you produce something and not add it to the store shelf? In a case, for instance, if you have a product, you've made a whole bunch of it, but you're not ready to release it to your clients yet, you've got like a new launch coming up, you have a whole bunch of marketing that you're going to do around this new product, you want to have the product ready, but you don't want to make it available yet to your customers. So what you would do is you create the product, add it to inventory, and then add it to your store shelf later when you're ready to sell it. So there are some reasons why we've done this. So there's two benefits of having the store shelf. So the first one is it allows you to have a description, name of price for a product in inventory that is very different from the name, the description, name, and price that you have for the product sitting in the store shelf that the client sees. Now, why is that advantageous? So in the instance of today, I've gone ahead and I've created my tea and I've called it calming tea. And then I've gone ahead in the description and put what the herbs were that I used in that tea, because it's functional for me to search through my inventory and look for those items later. However, I don't want to see my clients to see that. Now, the ingredients list is something that should be about at like a 6 size font that they can barely see sitting on the back of their label. So they have to really look at it. I don't really want them to be seeing my lovely formula out in bold as brass on their invoice. So that's one a reason, so that you can have your customers see one thing, but you see something else in your inventory list. The second thing is it allows you to keep a consistent public profile, regardless of fluctuations in price and availability. That is really important. As we know, herbs are a commodity product. So what happens is that their price fluctuates depending on demand, but we don't want prices of our products to fluctuate. So by having the store shelf, you can create that item in inventory. It can have one price, and that you can have a completely different price sitting in the store shelf, a completely different price that your customer sees. So, and it also allows us to do substitution as well. So sometimes we can't get a hold of an ingredient, but we want to use another one. We don't really want to broadcast to our clients that we've taken their calming tea and we've switched out Tilia instead of a chamomile because we couldn't get a hold of chamomile. Of course, it'll be on the ingredients list, but at least what the client is going to see is something that is very consistent, regardless of what kind of things we have to, what kind of adjustments we have to make in the background as a maker. So those are two reasons why we want to use why we have the store shelf. So let's take a quick look at it. So this is what the store shelf looks like. We can see this is the public facing. This is information you see here is what shows up on the invoice. And if you select one of these, we can see this is the information will appear on the invoice. This right down here is what you're going to see in inventory. So we can see it's in inventory, it's listed as asthma or relief, but in here, this is Alessia, this is her custom tincture that was made for her. So she's not going to see that it says asthma relief. This is what she's going to see. All right, so let's take a look at how to do this. So, and because we hit in this instance here, we've got two different sizes of the product. So each one's going to have a different price. So each one has to have its own store item. So we're going to start with the 75-gram bag of tea. And when you're going to go ahead and you click add to shelf. Now I can go ahead and choose and create a new item here if I haven't already created a store item, or I can choose an existing item. I'm going to choose an existing item. We're going to go ahead and see if we can find it. There it is, 75 grams of calming tea. Now we can see that it already has a price set for it. So even though I've done all this finagling of prices in here, it's telling me, hey, wait a second, I've sold this product before. This is the price I've sold it at. This is my public price. So this is the one that's going to appear on the invoice. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to click OK here. So now you can see it's changed this. So now it's $2.50 because that's what we had in the store shelf. Now I'm going to go over here And I'm going to change and go ahead and add this to the shelf. So I'm going to click and add to shelf. I'm going to say new item because I don't have a calming tea that's 25 grams in there yet, because I just decided today to do the sample sizes. And then in my description, so this is what the clients are going to see, and all they're going to see is that it's a blend of relaxing herbs. So this allows me some flexibility in what it is that I'm putting in for my ingredients. You have to have a SKU. There's a whole bunch of information in the help files on SKUs. I'm not going to get into them today, but you do have to have one that is unique. Whoops, I didn't want that period in there. Okay, so that's my SKU, and I'm going to click save. And also your SKU, by the way, is different from your lot number. SKUs only apply to store items. Lot numbers apply to what's in your inventory list. I'm going to click save. It allows me to go ahead and add an image if I want to. Just for the sake of time, we're not going to do that today. And I'm going to click close. So you can see now this is the new store item. I'm going to click OK. So now I've added things to the store shelf. I've done my pricing. Now I'm ready to kind of wrap up the whole process. So I'm going to go ahead and click where it says generate lot number. You can enter in your own lot number manually if you want to, if you have a system for that. However, you have to have unique lot numbers. So I'm going to click generate lot number. And then I'm going to choose an expiry date. Okay, so next we have to determine whether or not we want to see this product show up in the restock list. So if this is something that I'm making as a one-off for a client, like a custom formula, then I'm probably not going to want to stock this on my shelves. But if this is something, for instance, like we have here, this calming tea, something I regularly make for my customers, I like to make sure I have it in stock, and I want to know when I need to make some more. So I'm going to click this stock checkbox. And then I have to know at what point do I want this to be added to the restock list. So for me, when I have one of these items, I want them to show up in the restock list. Now, unfortunately, Kerrii doesn't have the ability to set up a restock point for each one of these packaging sizes. Whatever you set up here will apply to both of them. So I'm just going to choose one. And now I'm ready to produce it. So I'm going to click produce. So right here, your little sober second thought dialog box comes up. Really, really important you take the time to actually pause and think, because up to this point, anything that we've done has not affected our inventory quantities. Once you click OK, then stuff is pulled from inventory and there's no going back. If you need to make just changes and adjustments, you'll have to do it manually. So I'm okay with this, so I'm going to click OK. And it's now produced it. Yay! Okay, so it's gone from our drafts list. And if we go and we look in inventory, we can see there it is, our 75 grams, our 25 gram bags. Those are our two different sizes of bags we have. You'll notice that it adds it as a point of sale item. So anything that is a point of sale item can be added to an invoice. And now let's go take and see if it showed up in our store shelf. We're going to click store shelf. And there we have our calming tea 75 grams. And we can see attached to that is calming tea 75 grams from our inventory. We see we have one description here and we have a different description up here. Okay, and so we're going to close that. And now let's take a look at the 25 grams. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. There we go. And we have the same thing. We have our 25 grams of tea and we have our here, and we can see we have different descriptions. And we're going to close this. And that's it for today. Thank you so very, very much for joining us. Please keep an eye out for our next webinar. And if you have any questions about using Kerrii, please don't hesitate to send us an email at support@kerrii.com. Bye-bye for now.